Well, hello everyone. Nice to meet you. My name is Roger. Trust me, I'm a real person. I have a real face and everything else like that. Today I want to talk about a comic book that is 50 years old. I'm recording this on the first day it appeared on the newsstands. 50 years from the first day, I should say. It appeared first January 5th, 1976, and I'm recording this on January 5th, 2026. Now, my copy I picked up on January 6th, 1976. It was a very cold day when I picked it up. I walked straight from school about 2 or 3 blocks. Now, when I was 10, it felt like a lifetime to get there, and it was very cold that day. I picked it up, I took it home, and I read it, and I was very, very impressed, which is kind of weird for me because I wasn't a Superman fan, I wasn't a Spider-Man fan. As you know, as I'm sure you know, this is the first crossover between a DC property and a Marvel property ever in comic books. So it is a historic thing. Cost me $2, and with sales tax, $2.07. So this copy is partly well preserved because the original copy, the one that I actually bought, got damaged. And so a relative paid for a replacement copy of the original format. So we were very fortunate for that to make this possible. So let's begin. Oh, before I do that, I want to show off how big this actually is. Here is size of a regular comic book. And here it is next to there. Here's my hand, medium-sized hands. And you'll see that this tabloid size, or treasury edition size, as it would sometimes be called, is much bigger than your average comic book. Now, this Defenders, we'll come back to that in a moment, okay? Trust me, it's relevant. Okay, let's begin. Dun, da, 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 da. Let's open up. All right. So over here, we have a soliloquy from Stan Lee and a comment from Carmine Infantino. You don't need to know who wrote which one. You don't need signatures at all. You can just tell by the longer one, that's the one that Stan Lee wrote. Now, at this time, Carmine Infantino was the more or less outgoing publisher of DC Comics. I think this was published like a day or two before he left, but it was one of his publishing achievements. And a day or two after he left, I should say. And of course, we have Stan Lee talking very verbosely about all that's going on. So that's kind of cool that they'll see it. At this time, uh, DC Comics was still National Periodical Publications. It'd be like a couple months before they officially changed their name to DC Comics. Crazy. Check it out. Here's the cover page. Got the of all things, almost like a table of contents. Carmine Infantino, Stan Lee are the publishers. Written by Jerry Conway and drawn by Ross Andru. They worked together very closely on Spider-Man in the 70s. Again, we'll get to that also. Inked by Dick Giordano, major DC inker. Lettered by Gaspar Saladino, Jerry Serp, Saul Harrison for production, and Jack Adler, who I think was the original colorer on the first Superman appearance. Editors consulting Roy Thomas, Julia Schwartz, Marv Wolfman, E. Nelson Bridwell, plus, doesn't say it here, but sometimes Neal Adams and John Romita goose the images. Neal Adams, of course, doing Superman, and John Romita, of course, doing Spider-Man. For here, I don't think so. I think this is Ross Andru, inked by Dick Giordano. Background inks are usually by a guy named Terry Austin. How do we know that? Well, let's open this up. Wow! Big 2-page spread. Prologue 1. We begin the story. Superman has to apprehend this giant robot. And it goes on with that, with a couple touches that you might expect. But if you look closely, you'll notice it says Terry's Bar down here, and over here, Austin Bread. That's a dead giveaway that Terry Austin was inking backgrounds, something he would do with Dick Giordano in the 70s. Ah, Superman, I was hoping you'd show up. One likes to share one's victories, even with an old enemy. Ooh, wonder who. It's a very impressive opening with this so far. Huge and very well done panel borders. I love those with Ross Andru doing these kinds of things. Throwing Superman around. Looks amazing at this size. Oh my goodness. The whoosh was so well done. And all these little techniques going on. It's just great. Of course, this is back in the day when Superman, you could be thrown through buildings, and there's no comments on, I wonder how many people died or anything like that. 1976 is a much more innocent time. Okay, so he pops up the lid of Star Laboratories in Metropolis. And what do we have here? He takes some secret components. I wonder how that will be used. Tries to attack. Superman tries to attack him from below, but he is using red sun gravity beam to stabilize things. He eventually pushes the guy down, and so shoots up in the air. Superman destroys it. Turns out it's Lex Luthor. Yes, yes. Before he was a businessman, evil businessman type. He was the mad scientist type, and and this the man and in this the laugh is like the man, for the man of course is Lex Luthor. They tell you who it is just in case you're new to comics. Okay, so let's continue. Now we have your 70s era Superman, where he doesn't work for the Daily Planet. He works Galaxy Communications, and he's an anchor man. And this is his boss, Morgan Edge. This is the guy that hates him, named Steve Lombard, a kind of Joe Rogan-esque sportsman type. Tries to pull a practical joke on Superman, doesn't work. And so we hear what's going on. They're announced, oh, this guy, he's come back to wreak havoc, whatever. And he continues going on like this. Lovely work, again with the panel borders, panels inside of panels, 6-panel grid, very Kirby-esque. Now we turn the page. Boom! More money shots. This is all Andru. You could see a hint of almost Coletta there, or Jose Luis Garcia Lopez on that figure. Superman changes the costume. Very classic Superman. Going on, flying through, really captures Superman flying. And check it out. Lengthwise panel. Beautiful. Poosh. You can just hear that poosh as he goes underwater. Beautiful way of doing an underwater scene. This is one of the better underwater scenes I've ever seen in comics. And he's going after this machine. Rather scary kind of hello down there kind of creepy guy. Thum. Of course, you got it. Yeah, of course. It's Luthor again. He references around this time. We were friends once, Luthor, long ago. For a time, I hope we could be friends again. Perhaps we will be someday. Earlier in 75 or 74, there was a limited collector's edition of about DC supervillains, and one of the stories gave the Lex Luthor origin story when he met Superman when he was Superboy. This is all pre-1985 continuity. So he goes in. Apparently, Luthor can have souped-up red sun radiation lasers that can cause mayhem to Superman, getting tighter and tighter and tighter. And, well, Superman has to get out of the maze here. He's startled by a special attack laser. Superman, Lex Luthor, he puts the secret component into a pneumatic tube. Remember pneumatic tubes? And he says where it will remain until I retrieve it 24 hours from now. So 24 hours, Luthor vows to get that thing back. still pushing Superman back. Uh, Superman gets a little smart, starts to melt the exterior, helps him more ably capture Luthor and subdue him. In time to meet his colleagues to go to New York. Why are they going to New York? I guess we'll find out about that in a moment. Okay, now a pause for hero identification. That's obvious reference to station identification. This whole thing that would, when you had to identify the TV station by saying who you were every hour on the hour or something like that. And that's how I used it. Look down this. Look down here. Who taught him how to use the indestructibility in an everlasting fight against crime for truth, justice, and the Terran way. Not American way. Actually said Terran way here. This is crazy. In 1976, when this is published, it's the bicentennial. You can't say American way when it's the bicentennial. I didn't like it when it came out, and I like it even less now. Lovely golden age era rocket ship, etc. Boom! Prologue 2. Okay, so we just did the Superman vignette. Now we're going to do the Spider-Man vignette. And now it's clicking for the reader. Okay, we're going to see these guys separately in their own environments for a while. And here's typical Spider-Man lined up. Ross Andru was fresh off of drawing Spider-Man, so he was very competent. He'd also drawn Superman too, so he knew his way around both characters. That's why he was picked as the main artist here. Okay, so here you are. Check out this white borderline. I think we saw that with Superman earlier. White borderline around the figure. Beautiful stuff. And you notice the architecture here. Ross Andru was one of the great artists with regard to architecture when he was drawing things. In fact, there was one time when Marvel got sued because he was more or less copying exact buildings from New York City and got Marvel in trouble. That's kind of cool. Okay, the dialogue's pretty right. Again, we have Jerry Conway on the script. He knows all this stuff. Norman Mailer, eat your heart out. Look up who Norman Mailer is. Okay, wow, nice irregular shaped panels. The Ross Andru really makes this pop where the pole's coming out. He puts his camera on there, nice 70s era camera. He jumps in, decides to fight these people. There's a crack right there. Very good inking, coloring, etc. Giordano is doing great. It helps to have Austin on the backgrounds. Boom! We find out, hey, Doc Octopus. Check out that Zipatone background right here. Whew, sweet. Okay, so look in the sky, Spider-Man. What's that about? Ah, the flying octopus. Yuck! And I thought the Spider-Mobile was a fiasco. They tried to make Marvel was pushing the Spider-Man comics crew to make the Spider-Mobile a thing so they could sell it as merchandising in stores. And every chance they get, they tried to ridicule it in the comics. And so even in a crossover, Ross Andru and Jerry Conway are just punching that whole Spider-Mobile thing. Very good fight going back here. Thwip. Shoom. Ding, ding, ding. Okay, and this panel is kind of interesting. Take a look at this panel. See if you notice anything in particular, because we're going to come back to it later. Okay, so boom, oops, well done, pilot. However, next time, what's this about? Try not to cut it so close. Oh, sorry, doctor. Should collect the booty now? What else? Of course, the police are coming. That means they have to leave Spider-Man. Spider-Man's out of webbing. He has to run away from the police, who at this time in Marvel Comics continuity is still on the lam from the police. So Peter Parker claims to have all these pictures of Spider-Man. Put them on page 1, and that'll be great. And Jonah Jameson is very impressed. Why don't you have a relaxation? Robbie Robertson, I think is his name, comes in. Jonah the Night Owl edition, and the truck's on the stands. Well, Carmody's got a copy. Carmody sounds like Carmen. Okay, and I think there's something you should see. Why? Because there's a problem with the best photo they could find right here. So now he wants to beat Peter Parker up, and he says, "Get out! Get out! Get out of my office, Parker! Out of my building! Get out! Get out! Get out!" Hey, Peter, what's up? I'll tell you outside, Mary Jane. Okay, so at this time, this was in the early years of the Mary Jane Peter Parker relationship. Very well done, Mary Jane, by Ross Andru. Um, I'm sure Carmine Infantino had fun inking her pencil pushing, his Andrew's pencil pushing there. Yeah, bystanders. This is a trope of comics at the time. Bystanders saying something weird as superheroes appear. Give it a little bit more realism. So Spidey's sense is crazy. Peter Parker becomes Spider-Man, and wouldn't you know it, there's a blimp, a Goodyear blimp. I'm not paid anything by Goodyear to make this video. Okay, so he runs up beautiful job on the Empire State Building, and he uses his webbing, but remember, he ran out of webbing. Oh boy. So he has to do kind of some acrobatic twirl or whatever instead of falling to his death. And wouldn't you know it, there's Doc Ock again. And it turns out that in that earlier scene, he had dropped a kind of tracking device to follow Doc Ock where he needed to. So here's this machine who's going to do something or whatever. Fat Chance Tubbo, don't look now. The whole thing crashes. End of the line. He subdues Doc Ock. He runs away. They arrest him. So it looks like Peter Parker, J. Jonah Jameson, Mary Jane, and the crew, they're all going to get together and go somewhere important in New York City. And now yet another pause for hero identification. Now, for a lot of people that read only DC, this might be their first introduction to Spider-Man's origin. A lot of people at first that read only Marvel, that might have been their first introduction to Superman's origin. All possible. Now we're all hyper aware about these things, but you never know. Okay, so written more or less, you'll see Austin Watch right there. Another reference to the inker of the background, Terry Austin. Prologue 3. Now we're going to have a vignette with the Spider-Man villain and the Superman villain together for the first time anywhere, Lex Luthor and Dr. Octopus. So jumps onto here. They talk about various things, kind of drives the guards a little bit crazy. Turns out Luthor had planned this all along. He wanted to get arrested, so he got out the materials that he had to kind of subdue the system where going on. It involves sound creating issues, a little bit of Watch to activate the power of Doc Ock's arms, and they escape. So the hypersonic thing or whatever just is way too much for everybody there. Thankfully, he has earplugs for Doc Ock and himself. So they escape in order to cause mayhem later in the story. And leave us not forget our villainous villains. So we have a Doc Ock origin and a Lex Luthor origin. And a little bit of explanation of their gear. Nothing too fancy. Okay, so that's our basic cast. Now we're going to jump into maybe Superman and Spider-Man crossing paths. So apparently there's this big convention of an artistic kind. I think it involves this satellite here, but it looks very much like Skylab. So this guy is going to yell at Peter Parker because he kicked him out. There we got Clark Kent and Lois Lane. Frankly, Lois, the city's too filthy for my taste. Clark, sometimes you're so dull I can't stand it. Very classic. Even the hairstyle screams 70s Lois. Okay, so really good managing the emotions on these pages, the argument that's going on. Apparently, it impresses Mary Jane. Hooray, the conquering hero! I don't want to say who Mary Jane reminds me of. But anyway, so there was this thing where they kind of run out on J. Jonah and do it as they have to do. This is an amazing outfit. I've always wanted an outfit like that. Okay, so he says, I'm practically a college grad. I think he's still in college at this time. Shush, enough of the rage. Let's go see the show. So they're still going to stay at the newsy conference thing. And it turns out it's about CommLab 1 and how important CommLab 1 is going to be. So, so this gets going, and a lot of exposition. Turns out they don't want Clark Kent to cover the election year because it's 1976. You're a big man in Metropolis, Kent. Nationally, you're zilch. So, come convention time, I'll be replacing you with someone who has a higher viewer recognition factor, like Walter Cronkite, Roger Mudd, Dan Rather, all important news names at the time. So, convention time, meaning conventions, Democrats, Republicans, for this thing. Great outfit that Lois has. Clark is going to take it in a wussy way, which will anger Lois Lane. Oh, sometimes you make me so mad I could scream. Very period, the dialogue. So she runs off in a tiff, bumps into Peter Parker, who kind of saves her from falling, kind of thing you expect to do. They have a great conversation. They mutually admire each other for their journalistic stuff that they've done. Hiya, Wolf. Who's your friend? There's Mary Jane. MJ, meet Lewis. MJ's a pal of mine, Miss Lane. Miss? I guess you're not the liberated type. Miss Lane. Some men like that sort of thing. Some men dig their women feminine. Right, Peter dear? Pull the claws in, MJ. Peter's cute. But he's a bit young for me, don't you think? So we get a little jealousy fight going on there. Besides, I got my eyes set on, hey, Superman. Okay, so this is gonna, oh my. Zap. Something happened here. He flies away. What the heck? And Peter Parker witnesses it. But wait a minute. Clark Kent witnesses this too. So this, I guess, isn't Superman. What the heck's going on? Peter Parker runs in to change, but he doesn't have phone booths. He just has phone stalls. So he changes on the roof. And now he's going to apprehend Superman somehow, because Superman stole his girlfriend and Lois Lane. Okay, so here they appear. Now, beautiful, beautiful. Now we're on chapter 2, When Heroes Clash. You notice the artwork, again, the white border around the characters. I think this Spider-Man was goosed by Romita, and this Superman was goosed by Neal Adams. The marks aren't exactly what I would expect from Ross Andru. Again, beautiful architecture on this. They chose the right guy. So now it's time for them to go at it. Yep, we're back to Andru and Giordano on the art. So he has a tool to give red sun radiation to Peter, so that as Spider-Man he can cause issues. Apparently Lex was in a Superman costume. I don't know how they did, but it was weird. So this punch, come on, that's got to be Adams, and that's got to be Romita. And I'm not a fan of that. I would have preferred if they just left their super big names at home, just did Ross Andru. I heard that Ross Andru took this like a man and didn't get all beaten up or in a tizzy about it. So you'll look at this. I want to show you something, folks. Where did I go over here? To give you an idea what Ross Andru can do. Here, you'll notice here, this is a 2-page spread from Spider-Man 136. The Return of Green Goblin, but a kind of legacy Green Goblin. Some of you might know what it is. Beautiful 2-page spread. Goblin comes in like this. The Green Goblin lives again. Come on. Andrew could have handled this without Neal Adams, without John Romita. And this is Andrew, inked by Giacoia and who else? Giacoia and Dave Hunt, whoever Dave Hunt is. Okay, so that's to show you that, come on, Andrew's all you need. Ross Andrew's all you need. Well, boom, kapow. It hurts Superman to get punched by Spider-Man in this condition. So they have the obligatory Marvel-style fight. It's done very well. Superman's trying to talk rationally to him. Spider-Man's not having it. Knocks him around. That does it. Even a Superman can only be pushed so far. So here, he almost kills Spider-Man. Yeah, now it's my turn. Quick, Krypton, what am I doing? If this blow connects, it'll kill him. So I have to pull my punch. Hope it's in time. So what's explained here is he doesn't punch Spider-Man, but the pressure of Superman going in with a fist like that creates so much pressure that it causes a shockwave that throws Spider-Man around. Okay, there's your Galaxy Industries kind of thing. Shooting through the modern art. Anybody I recognize? No. Looks like a little Brancusi. Goes to the window, kind of goes up like this. You're supposed to read it across like this and down like here, which is a beautiful way to read a 2-page spread. He hasn't seen angry till he's seen me angry, and boy, am I angry now. So now he's going to punch Superman, but the red sun radiation thing wears off. So he's going to punch him again and again and again, and now he's in pain. So they talk it over, and they realize, okay, we were duped. Pal, we've been duped. And they said, okay, we're going to work together. So you get this beautiful scene where Superman and Spider-Man are shaking hands. Let's turn it like this. Chapter 3. Now they're on the hunt for wherever Lois and MJ are. And they follow the radiation trail somehow. They go into here, and it's some sort of warehousey kind of thing. And this is beautiful. Again, you're supposed to read it across like this and across like that. And you're going, wait a minute. Where did I see that before? Well, you probably saw it in Marvel Feature issue number 1, The Defenders. So just to give you an idea, the walls are a bit sensitive and there's heat, whatever. There's some shooting going on. There's a corridor with these dangerous blade-like things. So it's meant to cause mayhem for our heroes. Now, if you look in Defenders, again, Ross, Andrew, Thomas is writer. So I don't know what happened here. Maybe Roy Thomas told him to do it. Maybe Andrew thought it was an idea. But again, they have to break into this facility, and they have to use different ways. This guy comes in through water. There's fire going on. It's the same idea. Now, it's not really a swipe because the art is different. But again, notice here, Submariner with the walls and Spider-Man with the walls. And fire again, fire over here. Definitely something going on. So yeah, they recycled an idea there, I believe. But again, that was Ross Andrew on both. You wouldn't know it was Ross Andrew because of the way Bill Everett inked this thing. That's probably a story for another day. So thank you, Marvel Feature number 1. So Superman says, I've waited long enough, jump in there. That gives Spider-Man time to do things his way. Acme, Somebody Importers, Thram, Fresh, very Giordano inked. Aha! There they are, our villains. And they mention that they still have those characters. And, well, nope. They were holograms. They tried to find out from the computer what's going on. The computer was rigged to blow up. Well, Superman, being the ultra-powered guy he is, he's able to put this thing together very quickly. Done. Ooh, very, very Giordano-esque face. Maybe Adams changed the pencils there. So they figure out that they have to go to Mount Kilimanjaro from all this information. They do. They have this, I'll handle this, Spider-Man. These warriors are Maasai, a nomadic tribe familiar with the region. Greetings. My friend and I have come from the sky, seeking two evil men. One is a man of many arms who, you're Superman, aren't you? I saw photos of you when I studied in London. So Superman is talking down to these guys in clipped English, and they show him up by being more educated than he is. Those of you that are into your wokeness, this is probably your favorite page. So they go here. He has to demonstrate his powers in order to get the favors to find out what's going on. So they go to where they think the villains were. There's this guy. I think he turns out to be a robot or something or other, and he's got red sun radiation blade or whatever, so he could cut up Superman if he had to. They team up using their powers to subdue this guy. Perfect. It's the kind of thing you want to see in these kind of team up comics. They break in and they discover, lo and behold, this was some kind of headquarters of who knows what, but they've gone away. And apparently what they've done is they've taken the Injustice Gang location from Justice League about 1 or 2 years before this, even their stuff. So they're bringing in some other stories, information for this kind of thing. So they go. So here's Lex Luthor, and I guess that's Doc Ock. And they go in, and there's your Lois, there's your MJ. They have them in this sort of space facility. They're still kind of angry with what's going on. So Doc Ock is going, what's all this about? And he gets it out, and he puts it as information. Something's going to happen. So just to ground this, there's this really great interlude between J. Jonah Jameson and Morgan Edge talking about their issues with their employees. J. Jonah Jameson talking smack about Peter Parker. Morgan Edge talking smack about Clark Kent. And they have this connected conversation. But what I love about this page is it's a connected conversation. It's maybe 2 or 3 minutes long, but the locations change so quickly that you get a kind of compressed action sprung out really quickly. So it's a great way of managing things, the kind of thing only comic books can do. Anyway, so the conversation actually bleeds into the command center where they're checking out the launched ComLab. Remember ComLab? I do. Okay, so we continue like this. Okay, now it's time for the ComLab HQ people to turn on everything. And while they're doing it, Luthor contravenes some of their controls, and apparently I sent a high-intensity laser probe into the Earth's atmosphere. We've won, Doctor. We've won. So there's some kind of craziness going on with the ComLab satellite. What's going on? Well, let's find out. Superman and Spider-Man see that laser. Worst possible, across Middle America, wild storms begin to brew, raging with explosive fury. It doesn't look like anything yet so far. They were able to subdue Superman and Spider-Man, bring them into the satellite, and of course, Lex Luthor is going to tell them the master plan that they have in mind. And what they're going to do is not just St. Louis, but some other places too. They are going to ransom $10 billion, the Earth, so they can get a big pile of money and make sure that they are rich using this laser. Of course, if they don't use the laser, then a bunch of people are going to die. So, unless the U.S. government pays me $10 billion within the next hour, I'll allow the storm center to spread and build until it swamps the entire world. Okay, so Superman's a little bit groggy. Doesn't matter. They're still going to attack people. Luthor, he's one step at him. He disables the gravity, kind of disabling everyone. Make it a little hard for Spider-Man to shoot his web. So what happens? They decide to take on other people. Superman thinks like a martial artist and more or less knocks out Doc Ock, at least temporarily. Loses his glasses, can't really see. Luthor, being Doc Ock's new friend, gives him the glasses, puts them on. Oh no, they're broken. Really good fight scene. It just snaps like that. So the fight continues. Now we got Spider-Man fighting Luthor. I like they fight each other's villains instead of their regular villains. That's what they have for this. So Spider-Man's going to stay there. Superman's going to save the Earth while Spider-Man deals with our criminals on the satellite. So Superman leaves. It's a futile trap, considering the trappee. He escapes, and he has to stop the tidal wave. They continue fighting. Try to imagine how you'd feel if your acts determined the fate of the world. Beautiful narration. Narration was an art unto itself in comics way back when. So, there's a little bit of Joker creeping into Luthor's face because he's kind of losing it. And you hear that guy, Docky? He's going to destroy the Earth. Where are you going to spend your loot then, friend? Dear Lord, he's mad. So now Doc Ock is turning on Lex Luthor, and that stops the laser. Good, good. But you still have the issue of this tidal wave. Goodbye, Boston. Goodbye, New York. Goodbye, Washington. Well, I guess you get the point. So this could be mayhem. Let's find out what happens. Superman uses his sonic booms to kind of stop the waves. It's something he would do in other comics around that time. There are two other comics where he does the same thing to stop tidal waves, all of which came out at that time. I know. Little miscoloring here of the Superman outfit. That probably wouldn't happen today, but you know the way things work. We get a little bit of Spider-Man subduing Luthor. Looks like Spider-Man won. Looks like Superman won. They bring back our ladies, and they bring back the villains, and they thank each other for working together. Okay, so the end page. Apparently, Clark Kent had set up his camera for the Columbus Circle fight, and pictures of me and Soups hitting the Coliseum just now. Good thinking, Peter, my man. So at certain points, they had set up their cameras to take these pictures. Well, they bring him into Kent. You're unbelievable. Any exclusive story? An exclusive story. Positive. So Kent gets on the good side of his boss. Peter Parker gets on the good side of their boss, and they say, "Look, go ahead, take Lane to dinner on me. Thanks, Mr. Edge." So all four of them, they walk out triumphant for tonight anyway. And folks, this is definitely the end. 92 pages. I love it. You got a little extra matter here saying how this came about. Of course, they had Carmine Infantino to work on the design of the pages, etc. These roughs, very mid-70s Carmine Infantino on the pages, and I think Ross Andru took it from there, creating the finished pencils with Dick Giordano inked. But I think there's some tweaking from Neil Adams and John Romita on these pages. Nerds, if you know differently, let me know. So a really good explanation as to the politics of making these covers, and a beautiful cover at the end. Check it out. I've seen parodies of this cover. I've seen it used before. I think there's an Alex Ross version. Anyway, this was a great memory of mine, this comic book. So go back here. Let's center it here. Ta-da. Oh, just for fun, let's put the Defenders in there. And let's put Amazing Spider-Man in there. Ooh. Ooh. Yeah. So thank you, Ross Andru, for making this story possible. Thank you also, Jerry Conway. And thank you, Stan Lee, Steve Ditko, Joe Shuster, Jerry Siegel. the people that made our heroes possible. And thank you for listening to this, everyone. Celebrate the 50th anniversary of Superman versus the Amazing Spider-Man, the Battle of the Century. This is it. This was the great story. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you find a way to read it in some format. There are a few formats of this out there. Give it a shot. It's wonderful reading. And thank you very much for this audience that you provided to me. I don't know how to say it. I'll say it that way. Thank you, guys. Bye-bye.